Hi everyone, this is Selvi. Today's topic is Backlog Refinement Summary Report. We already discussed about backlog refinement in our previous episodes, so I'm not going to cover backlog refinement in this topic. Today, in this episode, we are going to cover what are the key items that we add in the backlog refinement summary report and what is the impact or what is the purpose of those items. So, in a nutshell, let's try to understand quickly the backlog refinement process. So, backlog refinement event occurs with the entire team, and as a team, we clarify doubts, remove the uncertainties, call out the dependencies and risk of the work items. At the end, we estimate if we are really ready with the work item. So, as an outcome, we get estimation points for the work items from the backlog refinement event. So now, when we are discussing certain work items, we may also encounter certain blockers. Like for example, team is asking certain questions, product owner may need to reach out to the business to get some more clarity, so we are blocked. Team is having certain questions on the design items, the wireframes or the UI UX prototypes. Now again we are blocked because we need to still clarify and come up with a new design. In other aspects, there are also some dependencies with the other teams, like our UI UX wireframe itself is not ready and we are not ready to proceed further, or we are kind of blocked for that work item. So how we are able to clarify doubts, similarly for some items we may get into blockers as well. So there are some work items which are getting into the blocked state from refinement. It may be for different reason, as I mentioned. It can be because of the dependency, it can be because of the clarity that is missing, or it is just because we still need to get some more inputs from someone. For whatever may be the reason, we are blocked. So this is another aspect that happens in the backlog refinement session. So now we clarified, we estimated certain work items, we are kind of blocked for certain work items. So these two things we need to really call out in the summary report. So the first section is also going to be a header section in the summary report. When I say header section, which date we are performing this backlog refinement session, who all are the participants, how many hours we have done this, all those things. This is a basic header that is going to have all the information about the meeting itself. And now the next section is all about what is the primary goal or topic. Maybe sometimes we have a certain set of module that we plan to do as part of the refinement. For example, we are going to cover today search functionality. So we have a couple of stories in that and we will be refining those stories in that module alone. There is a situation like that. In some situations, we may be going to different places like search functionality. Then we have something related to adding user functionality, removing user functionality. It may vary. But what is the primary goal of this refinement session? What are the things that we are going to target, or we targeted? Because report is actually something we prepare at the end of the meeting, right? Once the meeting is done, we prepare the report. So in the first section of the report, it is all about the header. Who all are the participants, date and timing, how many hours we have performed this backlog refinement session. The next thing is, what is the primary goal or primary target of this refinement meeting? It is also about what are the key areas that we covered in a nutshell. So this is the first section. Now we talked about two pieces. One is what are the work items we refined and estimated, which means work items that got refined. Let's put all those work item IDs or work item links from the tool, maybe Jira or Azure DevOps, wherever we have all those work items, we can give those links or work item ID and the title, and what is the story point we got it. Because at the end of every backlog refinement session, we need to come up with the set of user story points that we have estimated for the work items that we have refined. So this is the first level of information. What are the story points? Sorry, what are the stories that we have refined, and what are the story points we have estimated for those items? When we are talking about this, what is the next section? Blocked work items. So we have certain blocked work items like user story ABC got blocked. What is the reason? Let's call out that reason, and who is the action owner and target date for closure. So what is the benefit of doing this? Okay, we try to refine these work items, but unfortunately we encountered certain blockers and we are blocked for these work items, and these are the work items so and so, so and so. And what is the reason? Dependency because of the UI, or maybe we need some more clarity. Whatever the reason, we are just putting the reason. And then who is the action owner? Because it's not about, okay, we are blocked, fine, that's it. No, it's not the case, right? We need to take the next step. What is the next step? Who is the action owner who is going to resolve that blocker? So that action owner, it can be your product owner, scrum master, technical lead, your designer, whomever. Just put the action owner. And then the date, target date to resolve this. What is the use of doing this? Because we are keeping some deadline for us so that we know, okay, by so and so time we should resolve this. And also it gives us the clarity because there is a priority for this work item, and we need to use this as an opportunity to make ourselves bounded within a timeline so that we can work towards that. So it's very important we say that. In addition, there is also an advantage for the Scrum Master next time to plan certain things related to the blocked items. It is easy for the Scrum Master to track it with the right action owner. Hey, like you are the action owner for so and so work item, and we plan, this is the target date, where are we with that? You need some support. So in that way, it is the easiest option to track when we have really a timeline on that. So that's the second piece, which is the blocked work items. Now, we have identified good number of dependencies, good number of risk for work items. Certain work items we have risk, but we can estimate still with risk, right? And certain work items we have dependencies, and we know these dependencies are existing, but it is not a blocker for us to estimate. We are good to estimate with those dependencies, maybe because we all know, right? Estimation contains or uses different factors. Dependencies and risk are also part of that. When a work item is having a much number of associated dependencies or crucial dependencies or risk with it, then automatically the estimation value is going to be more for that. But even though we are in a position to estimate, we cannot leave those risk and dependencies, right? We need to resolve them, we need to mitigate them. So we are going to call the next section as identified dependencies. Same way, identified risk. So what are we going to do here? What is the work item and what is the associated risk that we have identified, or the dependencies we have identified? Who is the action owner? What is the action that we are planning? Target date. So now this gives us the clarity. Hey, like we estimated, we are good, or we have not estimated. There is a dependency which is open and team is blocked because of the dependency. That can also be called out here. So in dependencies, two varieties, right? One is actually the dependency we know, but still with the dependency we can go ahead and estimate the story. Certain dependencies are blockers, or certain dependencies are giving us a kind of like feeling of a threat that we don't feel like estimate even. So whatever may be the situation, we are calling out the dependencies and risks that are identified. With the right action owners, what is the associated work item and what is the target date that we are aiming to close those dependencies or risk. Now, what is the advantage of doing this? The first thing, let's consider a situation. We identified a risk for a work item, but team is feeling, hey, like we know that there is a dependency or risk, but still we are okay to go ahead and estimate that item. It is not a blocker for us in estimation because we are clear about the thing. But the only catch is, before the sprint execution, this dependency needs to be resolved, otherwise we cannot proceed. So now, even though we have estimated, we are in a good shape from backlog refinement point of view. The story got refined, it got the estimation value, but it also has an associated dependency. So as a Scrum Master, it's very important to track it in a way that you are resolving this dependency before the work item is getting planned for the sprint. So as a Scrum Master, now identify the action owner in the meeting itself and plan the right target date when we really want to close this dependency, so that we don't really have any kind of issues when we are taking this work item for the sprint execution. So this is the next section, dependencies and risk. It is very important to capture these things here because these may become potential blockers down the line. Now it may be a dependency or maybe a risk, but when we are leaving it, we have identified it, but we are not taking action, then it's going to be a problem for us. So it's very important that we are capturing it here and also calling out who all are the action owners and the target timeline, so that we know that we have really an action plan. There is an option that we can also use, which I have tried, which is also one of the best option I can say. There is a risk management spreadsheet, or maybe dependency tracker or risk tracker. That is a separate spreadsheet. It may not be necessarily the same spreadsheet that you do it in your backlog refinement summary. In those cases, you maintain that as your master spreadsheet for dependencies and risk. So what you do, you generally call that link in this summary report to go and watch. So at that time, what I used to do exactly in that is, in the risk register, you have some column like date, when you identified this risk. In addition, the reason is because it's a growing list, right? It has some risk which have been identified in the past refinement session, or maybe in some different meeting during planning, or maybe in daily stand-up, wherever risks are coming, because risk identification is a process, and it's a process that is as an ongoing step, right? So it's very important that the list is growing, but at the same time we should know when, from where it is coming. So it's very important, add a column that is date if you have a dedicated spreadsheet where you track risk or dependencies, and call out that link here to visit the risk register or risk tracker. Please click this link so that it will take you to the respective spreadsheet. That is also an option. Now we have done all these things. So what are all the things we have done? The first one is the meeting detail itself, like when this meeting happened, who all are the participants, how much time, that is the duration that we have taken for this meeting. The next one is the primary goal, that is the agenda that we covered in this meeting. And the next one is like, what are the work items that we have refined and got the story points. And the next section is, what are the work items that we are blocked with, and what is the reason for that blocker, and what is the action for that, and also the timeline that we are looking to resolve that problem. The next section is all about what are the identified dependencies and what are the identified risk. What is the risk mitigation plan that we have, who all are the action owners, and what is the target date. Similar way, same for the dependencies, what is the resolution timeline that we are looking for, what is the associated work item. Risk and dependencies may not be necessarily captured in this sheet itself. Rather, you can capture in a separate sheet and call out here in this particular summary report. That is one another option. Now the next section is all about backlog refinement efficiency. So now we have completed the refinement. So we know how effective we were in our refinement session. So what is the step that we need to take care here is, we need to first of all understand how to calculate the backlog refinement efficiency. So we have covered almost 3 to 4 episodes on this topic, which is one of the interesting topic. What is the advantage of calculating backlog refinement efficiency, and what is that, and how to calculate time for the backlog refinement meeting. All these episodes we have covered. So I request people who haven't heard that topics, please visit them so that you will get a fair understanding about backlog refinement efficiency. In a nutshell, what is that particular metric is all about is how we were effective as a team in our backlog refinement session. So how to measure that? See, we spend like 1 hour, and in 1 hour, how many story points we were able to estimate? That gives the effectiveness. Like, let's take for example, there is a meeting that we did yesterday for backlog refinement. There were lot of topics we discussed, but we were unable to get so many story points. We were unable to estimate a lot of stories because we discussed so many things. The topics were new, so lot of uncertainty, so we wanted to really clarify them, so it took a lot of time for us. So it's all about that. Now the next piece is, today we have done a refinement meeting where it was like a cakewalk. We kind of like uh, estimated good number of stories, and we got very good story points at the end of the refinement session. So it's not going to be like one day is the deciding factor. This particular day what we have done is not going to decide the efficiency. It's a pattern that we observe. So what we generally do, we maintain a spreadsheet for this: backlog refinement efficiency summary. So here the first thing is, what is the, when this session happened, like the date of the refinement session and the refinement session and the primary goal. Okay, now how many story points have been estimated? So like you can take it for the last 10, last 15, or last 5 refinement sessions based on the maturity of the team. Like if you see that the pattern is going on so well, or if the team is new, it's always good to have good number of refinement sessions as a trial. If it is like a mature team, you can reduce the number of refinement sessions because you know how the team is going to really work on with, because they are very well aware of the topics in the particular project. So these are some of the things, but there is no such real number. Okay, you need to calculate for 10, you need to calculate for 15. There is nothing like that. It all depends on the team. So let's consider, in my case I have taken like 10. Okay, so last 10 refinement sessions, when it happened, the refinement session and the agenda of the refinement session, quick agenda, like we discussed about search, we discussed about uh, the user management, we discussed about the permissions, we discussed about the filter options in with the date. So something like that, right? High level. And what are the story points we have achieved as a sum? Like in this meeting which happened on 12th of June, we kind of like estimated uh, 30 story points, right? So that day we estimated 30 story points. So similar way, all the 10 days, what is the thing that we have done? Let's capture that. So it's a simple spreadsheet. Imagine you have different rows. Every row is going to target with a date. For example, 1st June, 7th June, 12th June. We have 3 refinement sessions. First day we have done as a primary goal is user management. Second day, filtering. Third day, uh, search criteria. So first day, 30 story points. Second day, 50 story points. Third day, 20 story points. Okay, so this is how it is. Now, so for all the 3, similar way you can capture for 10 or 15. As I mentioned, it again depends on the team. So now you have these details, right? So now you need to capture where you stand exactly today after this refinement session that you conducted now. What is the refinement efficiency of the team? That's very important to calculate. So what's the refinement efficiency? So you put how much you have achieved today. For example, today was a great day that you were able to cover a lot many user stories and team was able to estimate lot many user stories. Then in that case, like we have kind of like estimated 50 story points, right? So now this is how we are putting in that spreadsheet. Now how to calculate the refinement efficiency? Calculate all the hours so far we have invested. So for simple math, I'm going to say 10 sessions, my team, as a team, we have conducted the backlog refinement. So 10 hours we have invested. You would have invested 20, you would have invested 15, depends, right? Some days you would have scheduled for 2 hours, some days you would have scheduled for 1.5 hours, some days you have scheduled for only 30 minutes. It doesn't matter. So what is the sum? What is the sum of all these 10 refinement sessions that happen? In my case, for simple math, 10 hours. And how many story points I have estimated in all these 10? Sum it up. Sum all the story points what we have estimated so far in these refinement sessions. Again, for simple math, it's 50. Okay. For a simple math, I'm saying maybe more than that, right? So 50. So in 10 hours, we were able to estimate 50 story points, which means for 1 hour, it will be like 5 story points, right? So now this 1 hour is equal to 5 story points is our backlog refinement efficiency. So backlog refinement efficiency always expressed in 1 hour, what is the effectiveness the team can bring in the backlog refinement session. So now this sheet also please attach in this backlog refinement summary. How this will be helpful? This is the way it's going to be helpful. So this, it is again going to be helpful with product backlog health and all those things that I'll be covering as part of sprint closure report, which we will be covering in the future. So as of now, you are able to understand that what is the current refinement efficiency that we have as a team that we are updating here. So this is going to be used as a different metric that is going to be helpful for us to plan the refinement sessions in the upcoming sprint or in the current sprint or in the further planned backlog refinement sessions, how many hours we need to invest. All those things can be well managed with the help of this metric. So now we talked about all the things what we need to capture in this report. So I'm just going to conclude all these pointers so that you can just think about as a whole piece. So the first thing is backlog refinement summary report. You can capture very well in a Confluence page. You can capture in a spreadsheet. It again depends. Okay. So now the first section is all about the meeting details. When it is happening, who all are the participants, how many hours we are planning, and what is the primary goal of this meeting. What are the topics at high level we are going to cover. Next, what are the topics we have refined and how many story points we have estimated. Next section is how many stories got blocked, what is the reason of that, and who is the action owner who is going to work to unblock these, and what is the timeline that we look for. Next section. What are the identified risk and dependencies, associated work items of the risk and dependencies, and what is the action plan, which means the action owner and the next step of actions with the timeline. Risk and dependencies can be directly added in the spreadsheet, or it can be a different spreadsheet which is centrally located for the project, and we can also add the attachment or the link here for easy access. The last section is backlog refinement efficiency. So this is one of the piece that helps us to understand how we were as a team effectively handling this backlog refinement, and what are the things that how much story points we were able to achieve. And this is again a kind of like a sheet that we handle separately for backlog refinement efficiency. You can attach that link here, which is going to give you for 1 hour what is the story point as a team that we can refine. So after all these things, when is the next backlog refinement session getting planned? There will be definitely a date because Scrum Master would have planned for a sprint. So when it is going to be, and what is the primary target, at least high level. So what is the advantage of writing this last information? The advantage is always make use of something like this. When you are sending the backlog refinement meeting, this may be a recurring meeting, but every time, just maybe 2 to 3 days prior to this meeting, send the agenda. So when I say agenda, it's not like what we do in refinement. Every one of the team members may be already aware of, like, okay, we discuss about the work item, we refine them, we discuss about the risk and dependencies, and finally we estimate. We know the process, but what are the topics we are going to cover? As a Scrum Master, work with your product owner or your technical lead or your technical architect to understand what are the topics we are going to cover, and just give that heads up to your team so that some of the topics where they feel already there is a blocker and it is not even a work item that we can pick up in this refinement session because it's not ready at all for the refinement, they will be able to give a heads up. So we can very well avoid them and take that in our action plan to get more details so that next meeting we can pull them in. What is the disadvantage of not doing this? Team may not be really ready. They just come for the meeting and they realize, hey, after discussing so many points, and they realize, hey, these things are not even ready, and I don't think so we are really in a state to estimate. So it's a kind of time waste for each and everyone in the room. So always share this. Same way, when you are closing this backlog refinement summary with the report, it's very much important that you are adding what are the things that you can expect in the next backlog refinement session and when the session is going to happen. Even though it is all in our calendars, it's always good to call out that, because we will be sharing this report to stakeholders who may not be participating in the backlog refinement meeting, but they are interested to know what exactly is happening. And if there is a priority change that's coming in, and if product owners somehow miss that, still they are getting an opportunity to say that, hey, like you are discussing about all these stories. I feel these stories are not really important at this point. At this point, these are the things which are very important for us. So even that kind of prioritization related discussion and some kind of suggestion we can expect from our stakeholders. So reports are mainly for these kind of reasons, right? We share it with different people and we get their inputs. And also very, very important advantage of sharing these reports, we have called out different people as action owners for certain things like blockers, dependencies, and risk. Some of our stakeholders or some of the people who are in the receiving end of this report, they may be able to suggest something. Hey, like I have also encountered this kind of problem. You can reach out to so and so person. The person is very helpful, and the person was able to resolve this problem in a day for us when we face this problem. So why can't you reach out to this person? So we are getting some level of clarity and support. So it's not only about informing people what exactly happened, it is also a way to express where all the places we have gaps or we need support, so that if someone is actually aware of what exactly they can do or support with certain items, they will definitely do that. So that is one of the important reason why we share these reports. The purpose of these reports, one is just to keep everyone on the same page and also tell them what exactly we are planning, so that if there are any kind of changes or difference in opinion related to the priority or the topics or the requirements, they can very well call out that from stakeholder side. And also we are calling out different items where we look for support. Definitely this is also an opportunity for us to gain that support or receive that support from people who are aware of those kind of issues earlier, or maybe they would have worked on similar issues with certain people earlier, so they will be definitely able to guide us with. So these all are the important pointers as advantages we see when we share these reports. I hope this episode would have helped most of you in understanding what is backlog refinement summary report. It is one of the very important report because this is the place where we actually gather as a team and start looking at the work items, and also certain places as a whole. This meeting helps us to understand where we need to split the user stories, whether we are picking up the things right with the order, and are we getting ready for the upcoming sprints. All these things are getting started from here. So this is one of the important place, and this report is going to be really, really helpful when we share it with different stakeholders. I hope this episode was helpful. Please visit the episodes related to backlog refinement and backlog refinement efficiency. That's definitely going to be helpful for all of you. If you haven't listened earlier, please, I request you all to listen so that you can correlate most of the topics. So that's all for this episode. Thank you everyone for listening. Stay tuned. Happy learning.